Hello, everybody. This is Professor Jason Kim. We are going to learn about the factoring trinomial when A is not 1, when we have standard equation of ax squared plus bx plus c expression. So leading coefficient A is not 1. Then factoring trinomial by trial and error method is much more complicated than previous factoring trinomial with a equal 1. So let's try some question when you have B is positive and C is positive, which means both of them are addition. Then as you know that when you have positive plus and plus, the factoring has to be plus and plus as well. Now, only difference of when leading coefficient is not 1, the way you factor is you have to factor not only 4 last term, 1 times 4, and try with 2 times 2, but also you have to factor the first term because it's not 1 anymore. So you have to factor 5x squared, which is 5x and 1x. And then you try to cross multiply with the factors of the third term. So 4 times 5 is 20x. 1x times 1 is 1x and makes 21x, which is not a good one, desirable one. It's not the desirable one because you need to make a 9x after you cross multiply and add them, but you have a 21. So this setup was not good in terms of trial and error. So I'm going to try another setup. 5x squared plus 9x plus 4, but 1 and 4 didn't work it out. So now we're going to use the 2 and 2. So again, 5x with the 1x, 2 and 2. So when you try that, by the way, before we try this, I forgot that arrangement can be switched as well. So instead of 5x with a 2 and 2, before you do that, you should have tried 4 and 1 instead of 1 and 4. So 5x with a 1x, instead of 1 and 4, try 4 and 1 and cross multiply. And then you end up with a 5x plus 4x. That makes 9x. So check, you made a middle term. So this setup of factoring is correct factoring. So 5x plus 4 with x. Instead of 1x, you put x. X plus 1 is correct factoring it. Okay. So not only you try 1 and 4, you have to try 4 and 1 as well to try to make a middle term. Number 2. So that was number 1. Try 3x squared plus 13x plus 4. So again, you're breaking 3x squared with a 3x and 1x. And try 4 as 1 and 4. Because I cheat a little bit when I try 4 and 1. I briefly cross multiply, I got 7x, but you need 13x. You need to make a 13x when you add the cross multiplication. So I quickly tried 4 and 1 and it didn't work it out. So I'm going to switch it and try 1 and 4. If I do that, 3x times 4 is 12x and 1x times 1 is 1x. That makes 13x. Good. That's the one that I need in the middle term. So setup must be 3x plus 1 for first factor, and second one is x, or 1x plus 4. So that's how you do that in terms of number 2. Now let's try number 3. If you have 12x squared plus 19x plus 4. What makes 12x squared and what are the factors of 4? When I try 1x and 12x, none of the setup like 4 and 1, 1 and 4, 2 and 2 didn't work it out. So I tried 1, 2, 3 times already and didn't work it out. Now, when I try with a 3x and 4x, and when I try 4 and 1, it worked. 1 and 4 and 2 and 2 didn't work it out. So when I try 4 and 1, it makes a 3x when I cross multiply 1 and 3x, and 16x, 3x and 16x makes a 19x. Bingo. So there are 1x and 12x that didn't work it out. 2x and 6x and any of the combination didn't work it out neither. 3 and 4 worked. So you have to try, if you're unlucky, you have to try so many times. That's why it's trial and error method. It sounds like horrible, but when you practice enough, you can do faster and you can get it eventually. So this is a bad part or a good part of trial and error method. You have to try many combinations. Okay. So now I want you to try the 4 exercises. See if you can handle this. Okay. Try those and check your answer with the solution at the end of this section. Okay. Now we're going to try another type of factoring quadratic expression or trinomial. Another type means the different sign combinations. The previous one was a plus and plus operator, a sign or a sign. This time you're going to have a minus with a plus operator or signs. It follow the sign rule that we learned previous video, but I'm sure that you can do that. So let's try with this. The question was factoring 3x squared minus 7x plus 4. So 3x squared can break into or are factors of 3x and x. 4 can be 1 and 4, and 4 and 1, and 2 and 2. So I'm going to try with a 1 and 4. But according to the sign law, when you have a minus with a plus, because that's the same as plus negative 7x, and this is plus positive 4. So minus with a plus, you have both of them have to be minus. So they all have to be minus So in that way, when you multiply them, they become positive 4. When you add them, they become cross multiply and add them become negative. So when I try that, -1 and -4, it's already -14, and so it becomes -13. So it didn't work it out. So I'm gonna try 3x and x with a -4 and -1. So when I cross multiply this combination, I got -3x with a -4x, which makes a -7x. Bingo. That's the one that we need to make in the middle term. So this setup is correct factoring, which is 3x minus 4 with x minus 1. Okay, so I got the midterm at the cross multiplication of a second trial. Okay, so it's not that bad. Number 2 is 5x squared minus 12x plus 4. So it's a 5x and x. When I try -4, factors of 4 with a negative in a first operator is -1 with a -4, -4 with a -1, -2 with a -2. When I try a -1 with a -4, that makes -20 when I cross multiply with a -1, so -21. So I know it will not work because you need -12. Now when I try -4 with a -1, cross multiply -9x and -4x, it makes a -9x. You need a 12x, so it didn't work neither. So when I try -2 with a -2, it worked. When I cross multiply -10x with a -2x, that makes -12x. Bingo. So this setup, which is 5x minus 2, 5x minus 2 with x minus 2 worked. So this time it worked at the third trial on trial and error method. Okay. Now I'm going to try number 3, 9x squared minus 30x plus 16. Okay. I'm going to try 1 and 9 with 1 times -1 times -16, -2 times -8, because if you have a minus with a plus, a trinomial operator, according to the sign rule, that it has to be all negative. So, -16 and -1 here, and -8 with a -2, and -4 with a -4. So you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different factors for 16 and 2 different factors for the 9x squared. But any factoring with a 1 and 9, it didn't work with any combination on 4 of them. Now I'm going to try 3x with a 3x. I try with a -1 with a -16. Didn't work it out. It's too big. When I try -16 with a -1, also didn't work it out. I'm going to try -2 with a -8. So when I cross multiply, it becomes negative 24x. When I try multiply, cross multiply, you got negative 6x plus negative 6x. So I end up with negative 30x. Bingo, that's the middle one. So this setup should work. So negative 3x minus 2 and 3x minus 8 worked. So now, depend on the size or nature of the midterm. When you do many practice, you can kind of guess that which combination more likely going to work. So just practice, make it perfect. Okay, so it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Okay, so try these 4 questions and check your answer with the solution key at the end of this section. Okay. Now, another type of the question is when you have a plus and minus. To refresh your memory, when you have plus and plus, both factor have to be plus plus. When you have minus and plus, both factor has to be minus minus. When you have plus minus, the bigger factor, bigger cross multiplication has to be plus, and smaller cross multiplication has to be minus. And when you have minus minus, bigger cross multiplication has to be minus, and smaller cross multiplication has to be plus. So that's the refreshment of your sign number rule. So we're going to try third case now. So when you have 5x squared plus 8x minus 4, first factors become 5x and 1x. The second one, to make a negative 4, you need 1 and 4, but to make a negative, in this case, the bigger factor has a positive according to the rule. So when you have a 1 and 4, bigger one is positive and small one has to be negative. So when you multiply negative 1 times positive 4, it becomes negative 4. And again, you have to try with a positive 4 and negative 1 by flipping these two factors. And negative 2 and 2 and 2 with a negative 2. So you have to try this 4 combination of factors for negative 4. So when I try negative 1 with a positive 4, it didn't work it out. When I try with a positive 4 with a combination of negative 1, it didn't work it out. So I'm going to try 2, positive 2 with a negative 2. Then it becomes negative 10x plus 2x makes negative 8x. So we are getting closer, but still we need a positive 8x. So next combination is 5x with a 1x with a flipping it, negative 2 with a positive 2. So when I try that, I get positive 10x plus negative 2x makes 8x. So bingo. So this combination work. So combination of 5x minus 2 with x plus 2. So I try many times. The middle one worked. Now second trial, second type of question on this kind, 3x squared plus 4x minus 4. So you have a 3x and 1x out of all this combination, which is negative 1 and positive 4, because bigger one has to be positive, and positive 4 with a negative 1, and 2 and positive 2. When it's same, you have to try with both. Negative 2 and negative 2 with a positive 2. So when I try with a negative 1 and 4, didn't work it out. When I try with a negative 4 and positive 4 and 1, because bigger one has to be positive. Positive and negative 1, didn't work it out. So I'm going to try negative 2 with a 2. So when I do that, because I know I have to end up with a positive 4x. So that makes 6x, and negative 2x makes 4x. So check. So this combination of 3x minus 2 and x plus 2 worked it out. Okay, the next question is 12x squared plus x minus 2. So this is hard one. Usually when the middle one is x. So when I try with a 1x and 12x, so 2 to make a negative 2, it has to be 1, negative 1, and positive 2, because bigger factor, 1 times 2 is 2. Bigger factor has to be positive. So this has to be positive. Or positive 2 and negative 1. So you have 2 combinations. But anything with a 1x and 12x, when I actually tried it, it didn't work it out. Now, so I can try with a 2x with 6x. Again, anything with 2x and 6x didn't work it out. So I'm trying 3x with a 4x. Oh, it was 20. Sorry about that. So 20. So all this combination was wrong then. Okay. So excuse me, that I'm going to try. I'm sorry about the wrong question. So 20 is 1 times negative 1 times positive 20, positive 20 and or 1, and negative 2 times positive 10, and positive 10 with a negative 2, and negative 4 and positive 5, and positive 5 times negative 4. So you have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh my God, 6 combinations. So all of those didn't work it out. Only thing it worked it out was 3x and 4x with a 4 and negative 5. When you cross multiply it, negative 15x with positive 16x, that makes 1x. Bingo. So this setup worked it out. Okay, so that's why they call this as a trial and error method. And some of the trial and error method questions are difficult because you have to try many times. But with the proper practice, I'm sure you can do it. Okay? I made a question. Some of the questions are extreme because that means you have to try many times. As a matter of fact, at one point I have to try like 40 times to get the answer. But once I become really good at it, I usually get it. You build up some kind of mathematical intuition, so you can do that, not exceeding too many times. Okay, so now try this for exercise question and check your answer with the solution key. Now the next one is when you have minus and minus. So 5x squared minus 8x minus 4. So when you have a minus and minus, you have a different sign. One is minus, one is plus, but the bigger one has to be minus. Bigger cross multiply has to be minus, and smaller cross multiply have to be plus. So 5x with a 1x. I'm going to try 2 and negative 2. So when I try this, negative 10x plus positive 2x makes negative 8x, which is the middle term. So this setup worked. So that become a 5x minus 2 with the x minus 2. Now the next question is 16x squared minus 8x minus 15. So 16x squared minus 8x minus 15. So when you try this, I am trying with a 4x, with a 4x, with a 3 and 5 makes a 15, but bigger, not bigger. I will try with a positive 3 and negative 5. When I cross multiply, you end up with negative 20x plus positive 12x makes negative 8x. So this particular setup worked it out. So how about all other combination? No, all other combination is not going to work to make a negative 8x in the middle. Okay, so you have to try the error again. The next one is 12x squared minus x minus 20. Again, 1x and 12x, none of the combination worked. 2x and 6x, none of the combination worked. So I'm trying with 3x with a 4x and negative 4 and positive 5. When I cross multiply, you get negative 15x, positive 15x. When I cross multiply this, you end up with negative 16x, which is negative x. So a combination would be this 2, 3x minus 4 with a 4x plus 5. So again, you have to keep practice and try and error. Okay. So now you try those 4 questions, 4 exercise questions, and please check your answer with the answer key. Okay. Now, next topic is whenever there is a GCF or a common factor for factoring trinomial, you always take it out first. So when you have 10x squared plus 22x plus 12, you don't try the factoring as of now because they all have multiple of 2. So GCF, great common factor for all these 3 terms was 2. So you take a 2 out, 10x squared plus 22x plus 12, and divide inside of the parentheses and divide each one by the number in front of number GCF. So that become 2 with a 5x squared with a 11x plus 6. So you actually have to factor inside only. So 2, you don't have to do anything, just keep writing. So when you try 5x plus 11x plus 6, you kind of know that 5 plus 6 become 11. So you arrange that way, 5x and 1x and 6 with a 1. So when you cross multiply 5x plus 6x become 11x. So this setup, including 2, so 5x plus 6 with the x plus 1 become your final answer. But important thing is that when there is a greatest common factor of 3 terms, you always have to do factor it out first. That's the first thing you do when you try to do the factoring. Another example, let's say you have 10x squared plus 14x minus 12. Again, they're all even numbers. That means at least you have a 2 as a GCF. So take 2 out and divide all of them by 2. So it's a shortcut. You end up with 5x squared plus 7x minus 6. Now you factor this trinomial. When you do that, you end up with 5x and x and negative 3 and 2. So in that way, 10x plus negative 3x become negative 5x, positive 7x. Checked. So final answer become 2 with 5x minus 3 and x plus 2 should be the answer. Okay, and when you FOIL all of this, after you FOIL this and then you multiply by 2 all of them, you end up with original question, 10x squared plus 14x minus 12. So try the next 4 exercise and check your answer with the answer key. Okay. Now we learn on this chapter. Let's summarize what we learned so far, especially the factoring trinomials. I mean quadratic expressions. Okay. So strategies in factoring is you always look for GCF first. So if there is a greatest common factor, you always take that one off first. That's what we just learned. Without that, things can become very tough. After you GCF out, maybe it clear the direction of next steps. Because as of now, sometimes it's the question itself sometimes looks very deceiving. Okay, so always factor the GCF first if there is a GCF. Second tip is looking for number of terms, because depending on how many terms you have, the way you approach to solve is maybe different. So when you have special polynomial, or if the polynomial is binomial, see if that's a special polynomial. Applying, like, can you make it as a squared minus b whole thing square? If you can write like this or format like this, it's always you can factor as a plus b times a minus b. So, for example, if you have a 2a squared minus 8b squared, you cannot make this as special product, okay? Something square minus something square as it is, because nothing square is 2 and nothing square is 8, even though a square b square is there. But as you see, 2 and 8 has GCF as 2. So take a 2 out, then you have a squared minus 4b squared. Now this looks more likely of something squared minus something squared format. So this is a squared minus 2b squared. So this one become a special product, so special polynomial, so that become a plus 2b with a minus 2b. Okay. So the original question doesn't look like, or cannot make a something square minus something square, which is a special polynomial as it is. But after you factor the GCF out, now it look like that. Now, if polynomial is trinomial, then you use the regular factoring things. Okay, so when you have a 10x squared plus 25x minus 15, you don't try to factor it. Rather than that, take a GCF out. In this case, is 5. You have 2x squared plus 5x minus 3, excuse me. Then you can factor this one as 2x minus 1 with the x plus 3. So again, taking GCF out, factor by GCF first is always a most important thing, if there is any. So we talked about when you have 2 terms or 3 terms. Now, when you have 4 terms, to make sure that you group by 2, unless there is a GCF for all of them first, then you factor GCF out. So when you have a 6AC minus 6BD plus 6BC minus 6AD, we know the GCF for this 4 term is 6. So take a 6 out, you end up with AC minus BD plus BC minus AD. Now you try to group by 2, okay? If that one didn't work it out, then you can reshuffle them, rearrange them to make it at least 2 of them has the same common factors. So I'm going to rearrange this into AC plus BC. So this and this, because both of them has C's, and minus BD minus AD, because both of them has D's. And then you factor by C, A plus B, and factor by negative D, and you have a B plus A. But B plus A and A plus B are same according to our community property. As long as they are plus, the order you can switch it if you want. Okay. So it become A plus B only because it have to match with the first group term. Now you factor by groups term, so take A plus B out. You end up with, from first one, C plus negative, end up with the second one, D. So your final answer is 6A plus B with a C minus D. So that's your final answer. Now, also another thing you have to watch out is when you try to factor them, you factor until there is no more common factors. So when you take a 2 out, you can be able to make a special polynomial. You end up with a squared, 2 times a squared plus 4b squared with a squared minus 4b squared. But this, you can factor again into special polynomial. So your final answer become 2a squared plus 4b squared with a plus 2b and a minus 2b. So you don't stop here. You keep continue if you can factor completely. So now look at some example. Now let's recognize pattern. So when you have a question like 1, what do you do? First, do you have a GCF? If we do, factor by GCF first. And then you factor by special polynomial difference of squares. Okay? So what was the GCF here? GCF for that is 4. Yeah. So take a 4 out, you got a fourth minus 9b squared, 9b fourth. And then, so that's first one. Second one, now you change this one into a square minus 3b square. So you end up with a square plus 3b square with a square minus 3b squared. So first you take a GCF out, and then you try to make it a special polynomial format. How about second one? How do you factor this? Can you see the patterns? Yeah, there is a GCF for 2. So you take a GCF out and factor the trinomial. How about this? Yes, you have GCF for 2, and then you factor by grouping. Number 4, there is no GCF. You just try factor by trial and error method. Okay, so you make a plan before you do it. So try this next 4 exercises and check your answer with the answer key at the end of the section. Okay. So next examples are factoring completely. Okay, so try these factoring completely problems. Does a trinomials or quadratic expression always factorable? No, that's not necessarily true. So some of the quadratic expression or trinomial or 4 terms cannot be factored. Then you have to try another method. That we will try that in next following videos. Okay. Now the next topic is maybe I should stop here now because we've done a lot. So that's it for today. Then I'm gonna see you guys on next video. Thank you.